it's a real hard morning or difficult.
Hi, nice to see you again, guys.
Hello, everyone. Today is a special episode. So yeah, it was
We're
such
glad
good
to
morning.
meet Ujjwal. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I'm glad to meet you folks. And your friend, Dennis.
Yeah, let's. I think we should introduce you
right.
to our
Yeah. Ujjwal had been talking on a conference HolyJS a few years ago. I think at least 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's written on the description of this video. What is he doing? So we are glad to see you again with us.
Thank you for inviting
It's
me.
up to you what we will talk today, but yeah, I'm just happy we finally did it, and we was able to woke you up. So please say sorry to our attendees who are listening us
No,
for that a bit late, 25 minutes I think for now.
no.
Guys, I am very sorry. We was trying to call him, but he was too busy last night, and it shouldn't be happening. But unfortunately, he have been able to sleep very late. So currently he is here, but we was trying to call him for about an hour. So I'm very sorry for waking you up, but we had to do it, and everybody was
No,
expecting and waiting for you. And yeah, so I'm happy to see you now again.
we're
On
happy to see you here.
yeah, I'm
yeah.
saying by myself personally. I did it.
Okay.
I woke him up.
Yeah, no, thank you for and yeah, I mean it's amazing on the one hand to be here on Saturday morning talking about fun stuff. But yeah, I mean as you mentioned, I had something come up yesterday and yeah, I just went to sleep like a couple of hours ago. Um, but yeah, that said, I'm sorry, obviously, like I should have woken up a bit earlier.
Okay. Now we are here and we are
Yeah.
ready to start.
So
So we have a tradition. First of all, it's like just a warm up. We talking about how was our week.
Mhm.
Ujval, how was your week? Can you say something?
Uh, yeah, it was pretty intense at first. Like we had some internal work stuff, but yeah, I think it went well. So it was all right, and uh, so yeah, like super intense towards the end, towards the beginning, sorry, and then it sort of went downhill in terms of intensity.
Okay. What may be next? So
your week,
my week.
Dennis.
Oh,
Your week.
yeah, my
I
week.
mean,
So I think I had an accident. I split out some water on my Mac laptop. Yeah, it was really. I was in panic, so yeah,
so
I tried it out and go to the surveys, but
your week.
yeah, everything is okay now.
Everything is again. Yeah. My week is also intense, and the most intense event of this week for sure was last hour. Yeah, but anyway, it's okay now. So let's then will we try to discuss some news for this week. I mean, in community, maybe something happened. Maybe somebody was working on something very interesting for community.
Yeah,
So,
we had a TC39 meeting recently.
oh,
It was one of the short ones, but it still had a number of cool things. So uh, we could talk about some of the things that came up there, or generally whatever is interesting because there's some things that are uh, ongoing, like in the longer term, and then there's some things that are like very uh, focused at the moment, so they go for stage advancement. But it's not true like that only these things are being worked on. Mostly you can see that for most proposals there's a couple of people who are working behind the scenes.
Hmm. So, for example, what it was,
For
if you can say
example,
that.
yeah, for me, it was Intel era month code. So you might know Temporal. This is like one of
Mm.
our favorite proposals, dates and times, and sort of all sorts of easier APIs, and you know, uh,
Yeah.
kind of uh, the uh, the proposal basically provides a lot of functionality to Temporal, but there's one bit of functionality that is very internationalization heavy. I'm so sorry. Yeah. And what happens is that we have this other proposal for having the non-Gregorian calendars in Temporal. So
Oh,
this calendar is sorry, this proposal is going to introduce things like the Chinese calendar, or the Buddhist calendar, and Dangi, and all of these like international non-Gregorian calendars. So yeah, it just got stage 3. uh
Well,
and
wow.
so you working with time now. I mean, the, everything is on time in your life. Like, maybe maybe you may like introduce how much complicated is that stuff, because like maybe I can say I don't understand it. I can
yeah,
say I don't understand comparison between Maya calendar and Gregorian calendar, because like that, like in 2011 there was a problem that everybody was expecting. It's about like final year of overall life on
yeah.
Earth, and for comparison with Mayan calendar, what
Mhm. Yeah,
what is this?
you're right. Like, especially since temporal, and now this is a proposal that, also, by the way, we're gonna get stage 4 really soon, right? Like, and is being in that moment right now. But yeah, I was thinking like, even though it's just one proposal, it's been so long that we've been like, what, most of us have been working on it for 5 6 years now, or maybe more. And so we became experts even though we were not. One thing that I can say, or explain, is just how easy it is to fail at your own assumptions when we think about calendars. So we tend to have a lot of ideas about how time works and about how calendars work, and these are always rooted in our own calendars, in the systems that we follow. For example, our idea of a leap day is completely around how it happens in the Gregorian calendar, right, in February. But in the lunisolar Tibetan Buddhist calendar, you can have a leap day any day. So you can have a day today, and then the same day might happen tomorrow, or you might skip a day. So all of these complex rules are like on top of things that we have, and obviously, like, this makes it even more complex to understand these calendars,
How
because it's like,
how how could even it be possible that the same day is different day?
you know
Uh, how you what did you do to imagine this? Like, how
uh
you
I
fulfill your
mean,
mind with the
it's
ideas?
it's very interesting. Yeah, I don't know why they came up with these different concepts, but you can see, for example, the idea of leap months in the Hebrew calendar. So you have this month of Adar, and you can have either Adar 1 or Adar 2, and it's like, there's two variants of this month, and so They can have either the leap adar or the regular adar, or they can have both.
And every runtime have to support them all.
Yeah, yeah. That's the idea.
And how do you choose between which one will you use in practice for current task? Like, for example, you are billing invoice in some system which works with that calendar, or representation of which system should be working in that calendar. So how would you pick which one?
That's a great point. I think like it really depends on your audience and like what calendar it makes the most sense for you, or your sort of specific use case to do this calculation. But yeah, you're right, like that it might be different. For example, not all the calendars are gonna agree that between a date A and date B there's these many days. So like it depends on which kind of calendar we're talking about. In a lunisolar calendar, there can be a different size year. In a lunar calendar, there's definitely a different size year. And so, yeah, like to understand which one best fits in this case is important. What I would say is like to at least think about the official non-Gregorian calendars, because when we think about this, we often have this idea that like this Gregorian calendar is the official one, is the real one, and that like all the other calendars, well, they're used only for ceremonial reasons, right, or for religious purposes or something. But that's not true. There's like the Thai Buddhist calendar that is used officially in Thailand. There's uh, different Islamic calendars. So there's definitely calendars. Oh, and I guess the Hebrew calendar officially in Israel. So it's like a lot of these places can have a different official calendar, and in this case, it makes sense to maybe use this. But yeah, I mean, keep this in mind that like this is not just representation. Like we already have internationalization, so you can take a date or a time and represent it in any calendar. But the idea is that like you can use the logic of the calendar, so you might be able to say, well, how many days are between A and B, or that kind of functions.
Thank you. And how is this system working with precision? I mean, is it still about coordinated universal time or something like different system? Because I don't understand
Yeah.
which point in time it picks at all.
Yeah, it's the UTC sort of coordinated time, and it basically gives you like the base value is to get you the current epoch time, whatever, in nanoseconds. And so this is the precision, this is the accuracy that is expected. And finally, like, yeah, so you have basically uh, this degree of precision. Uh, Maybe not every JavaScript environment has this, but the idea is that like um, nanosecond precision is kind of necessary in the future.
So it may it happen that some systems is uncontrolled on a single point of truth. So what will happen then? For example, I have one laptop which is coordinated on universal time, and the second tooling or device which is coordinated in different system. So they will like split up in between what is going on internally, and in spite it's still nanoseconds, it's different nanoseconds. And then my like primary device is coordinated in like Gregorian calendar, secondary device is coordinated in some like lunar calendar, and how they will met together. It will be collision anyway.
Yeah, so the way we deal with this is that like the values internally are stored in this ISO calendar that we think about. So fun fact, like we don't use the regular Gregorian calendar. And the reason for this is that the regular Gregorian calendar, which was the result of multiple reforms, was still not perfect. It still needed a lot of reforms. There's the proleptic Gregorian calendar, which modifies the Gregorian calendar and has some math changes that makes it sort of easier to model on a computer. And then like this, there's a version of this calendar that we have called the ISO is 8601 calendar. And so that's like what Temporal uses internally for every date, every time, but also just like that's what they uh Dennis is
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
here.
Yeah,
okay.
he's here.
Uh
Just he switched off his camera.
no worries. So yeah, like the idea is that like every calendar is in a way just a function how you can represent or how you can convert essentially an ISO date into a date in that calendar. So uh, no matter what date you have in whatever calendar, there's a way to convert them because a calendar is essentially does it make sense? Like it's a protocol to how to convert the date to and from the ISO calendar.
Mhm. So about accuracy and precision, then, like it's a joke that, like, fun joke. I think that you are spending your time on time, like you're working with time now, and that's why you're spending your time on time. But precision, it matters. Like that, obviously, each fourth year we add about a day. Each year we about like adding additional seconds on milliseconds on nanoseconds. How it works with that stuff? Like it is like centrally coordinated somewhere, and or it's not about this proposal in general.
No. Yeah. So basically, like the timekeeping servers that many organizations have and sort of uh, have part of their infrastructure are mostly responsible for this. JavaScript is gonna more or less assume that the time that you have is the most precise that you can have, and work with that because the idea is that like well because most people build apps and like interfaces and websites on JavaScript that like it should be focused on applications and sort of like that's the kind of use case that we care about.
So like the best pattern, for example, I do have Node.js application, which is like about backend server, which works with database, which is then connected to time server. And I am about to write a row in a table, which will define timestamp from that service, which provides accurate time with precision. And my application is delayed or shifted somewhere in a different nanosecond. So what is the best pattern for picking up which time it was? So after my row was committed to the database, should I then pick up that timestamp for like for being more precise with my user who like achieving the reports from that system? So this event happening, like obviously I had endpoint which like accepted data. Then after some calculations, I am putting the data to the database, which is coordinated differently from my application. And moreover, it coordinated differently from user time, like who was providing that data. How should I, like, what is the best pattern? How should I say
Synchronize.
which time it was? Yes, like about the database time, about like server time, which I don't know, about application time, which I can somehow calculate, or about user time, like when it happened in
That's a great
comparison.
point. And yeah, a difficult question. What Temporal doesn't help you with is making this decision. Like that's still very much up to your application, or like based on your case, what's the best answer here. But it does give you the tools. So it's like, if you have like a bunch of these dates, and let's say you want to find the average middle point between like some random operations that want to do like this kind of math with dates, is much easier to do with Tempro, and that's mostly it. I guess like one thing I can say is like maybe the user time bit is gonna improve with this, because as I understand, like a lot of JavaScript is used for interfaces for clients, for like UIs. So what you can do now is like you have this extremely powerful datetime API that can not only query the datetime but do all of these operations, and do it on the user side, like do it on the client side. So yeah, what that basically gives you is like the ability to fine tune what you get from the user side, and then yeah, hopefully that's uh, enough
Now,
for accurate.
let's make that example even worse. Like, for example, we have regulations, like legal regulations for some state, or maybe for some like financial system, which operates in the following case. If you have like about 6 p.m., then banking transaction financial service, it will go then to next day, and you have an issue point when you have to pay this day, this current day. So you start in your transaction in about a minute, about like from shifting, and you did it properly. You started that transaction a minute before it will definitely be happening next day. So, but due to that all movement of data between your browser, then server, then different server, it happened that transaction which should be written to the database will be having timestamp of next day. So it will not been committed today. So your finances will be moved tomorrow, and you may be like additionally billed from your clients because of that. Like you didn't, you was committed that you will be doing this today, and they fine you for this, but you did today for your own personal reason. You did it 1 minute before this current banking day is over, but due to all the data movements, calculations, and so on, it will be happening tomorrow, and you have fine from that. How would it? How should it be like blueprinted? Maybe some ideas, and obviously it will be pointed to temporal from some distant point in future.
Yeah, I think if I understand here, the ways Temporal addresses this is by allowing you to play along with these values a bit more, and to have more precision, because as I said, like date never allowed anywhere near this kind of precision. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it in terms of what Temporal can offer, because yeah, like the API is obviously like we had to strike our own balance, but it's like almost low level enough that it really doesn't uh, understand most of these, which are like application specific concerns. And yeah, I guess like what people can do is like they can, for whichever calendar that they have, sorry, so for example, they can have a custom calendar for the market, so or the bank. So this is a calendar that opens every morning and closes in the evening when the markets close. And so yeah, like using this you can calculate like specifically in the context of this calendar, how things work, right? So, for example, like how regular date and time in the Gregorian calendar map to this calendar. So it's like at what point is it part of the next day, and so on.
But how we could trust the client time, because it can be
Thank you, Dennis.
it
Thank
can
you.
be fake, yeah. So
I
how
was
we
about to
could
ask the
trust
same question. Will this system have something like hash sums? So user will be able to prove two things. First thing, his own time was like definitely coordinated with universal coordinated time when he was starting that transaction, when he initiated that transaction. And the second, like proof of trust to user that like that time on his machine was somehow signed with that, like he did it properly. He did it 1 minute before banking day was over, and may he somehow issue a certificate of that transaction that it was made properly. So even though like the data movement between servers spent some time, and the banking system decision is to move it next day, he may then issue or fine a bank because he have like proof cryptographic certificate that he started transaction properly. Like protect users from all that technical stuff.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. We can probably introduce a lot of this on the application level again, but uh, pretty hard to justify to build this into the language. But I mean, it makes sense and sort of should help, as you mentioned, with these cases. It's hard, like, that with the JavaScript language, people can be quite conservative, and it's one of these languages where um, anything that we add does sort of remain there forever. So we have to be very, very careful about this. And it's because of this, like that Tempro, which is this extremely popular proposal that people agree is useful, still had so much work and challenges that can be hard with all of that complexity. But yeah, it makes sense because, as you mentioned, like the problem of how do you prove the integrity of this date, right? And sort of
Yep.
where did it come from?
So yeah, that's why me personally, I was thinking about like system when, for example, some tooling inside of your engine provide you the way to make it. For example, you have a class which is extended from like system-wide class, which gives you like interface of crafting its items or entities, which will have life cycle in your application. For example, they will live like 5 seconds. And then it will be automatically destroyed. So like you have 5 seconds window of a life cycle of time of item which was crafted with that special way. And that is a proof of concept, like, and this may be used for, but we have no way to describe it with like TypeScript. I think Rust have this concept, like life cycle of a variable,
Yeah,
like in time.
yeah.
Uh,
Um, I really, yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things for me when it comes to that kind of variable analysis, right, in Rust is uh, like, in my opinion and in my understanding, because that's where they made it quite mainstream. uh it wasn't before that so popular in mainstream programming languages and sort of non-functional uh communities. And I can see that, like, it's great, and sort of it's really helping people write better code. The problem is, like, it really relies on static compile time analysis. So like because TypeScript does this kind of static type compilation, it makes sense. They could probably do it, but JavaScript by itself doesn't have any compile step or any idea of like what it means to verify this kind of things or infer this kind of things.
By the way, we have
Is
an issue.
sorry.
Yeah, we have an issue. We don't see comments, but I can see it on YouTube particularly. So there are some questions. I will ask
Nice.
it. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
First question from Momumash. Ujjwal, can I ask a personal question? How do you manage to balance live work and your TC39 stuff?
Well, one good aspect of this is that TC39 is very much part of my work. I cannot see myself doing it sustainably for this long as I have without it being a part of my work. I would be like I'm not saying that it's not fun. It's just like it's really intense and sometimes very uh, unforgiving. So because of this, like, yeah, I don't have to balance TC39 work. Thankfully, it is my work. But yeah, like with life and this kind of stuff, it can be intense. Is like we all love conferences. We want to go to conferences, any events that we can. But then TC39 means that there's at least three meetings, maybe more, to attend every year as well. Uh, and yeah, like this is something that you can put a lot of energy into without ever feeling like you're doing nearly enough. But the benefit of this is to meet these people, right? Is to go to a TC39 meeting. Uh, there's a number of our common friends that I can talk about that have been to these meetings or sort of participated, right? But the only way I can describe it is to say that, like, yeah, if you feel passionate about JavaScript, like I know you two guys do, uh, you're gonna feel like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. Like it does feel eventually that, like, okay, I mean, this is intense and it's hard to do anything, but these people are super passionate about the programming and the language and how it's used. And like if you're somebody who might feel like, yeah, maybe people around me don't care about their programming language enough, like, yeah, you can really feel the disparity, right? Like these people really care about the programming language. But yeah, like it's always fun to think about, like, yeah, how can we approach um this. I'm sorry, I need to go back to the question, which is how do I balance work and personal stuff. It's very hard. I struggle, but my general idea is to like make sure that I work if I can, like as soon as I start, uh and then, like, whenever I'm satisfied to finish, because I find it very hard to focus on anything if I haven't finished, like, or vice versa, like to get anything done if I'm not just focusing on this. So yeah, like the idea is to just do both of the things at a different time.
I will ask typical question, I think. Yeah, how to become a CC39 member? Yeah,
Yeah.
which ways do you
uh,
know?
Yeah, no, this is the most important question, and the easiest answer to this is by one of two things: either joining an existing member. So as you can see, like in TC39, the idea of a member is like for an organization, not for a person, and people who work at these members are called delegates. So basically, in order to be a delegate, you can join a member, a company that is part of TC39. Conversely, if you work at some place and you're already dealing with this kind of stuff, like let's imagine Victor, right? Like Victor is uh, dealing with a lot of JavaScript code and is like the reviewer of all JavaScript, and is responsible basically of being personally aware of all the most cursed instances of JavaScript code crime in his organization's code base. And being in this kind of position, you can uh, really bring a lot of value to your organization by saying, hey, like, what if I joined TC39 and fixed all of these things? Now, obviously, like, this is not. Uh, Sane for a lot of companies because this is really long term stuff that we're talking about. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely way out. Sorry.
It it could be too long, I think, because some proposals have the journey in by years.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, definitely more than 10 years, right? Like decorator fans know exactly this pain.
Pipeline operator, pipeline
Oh,
operator.
pipeline operator. I'm so sorry to say, like I'm pretty sure that it's not gonna happen at this point. But yeah, well, let's not talk about sad stuff. The point is like um sorry, I guess like yeah, that you can either join a company. So it's like, if you join, let's say, Igalia, you can join my team. I would, like, one of the first things that I did, if you told me that you're interested in JavaScript, is to ask if you want to join TC39 and, like, work on this and talk about this. So it's like it's this, and then finally it's the path to be an invited expert. Like, we do a lot of work, and some of this work we don't actually know how to do this, or, well, not how to do the fine details. So from time to time, like, we do have to invite somebody as an invited expert, and the idea is that they will give us some domain specific knowledge that they have, or some information that they have access to that we otherwise don't.
That's cool. I have one more question. You mentioned Igalia. Can you say more about it to our uh, yeah?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah, this is my favorite question. So it's like, Igalia, I don't know how much of the audience knows about this, but this is one thing that is, like, for obvious reasons, really close to my heart. Igalia is the organization I work at, which is an open source consultancy. So when describing, like, what kind of work we do, the easiest way I can describe it is like we work on really low level, most of the time, software, or just, like, big open source projects that somebody would pay us to work in. So, basically, this means that many of the biggest projects in, as you might know, like, browsers are some of the largest open source code bases to exist in general. Yeah, this makes good business, and obviously, like, we have special expertise with browsers and all this areas, which make it a little bit special. But yeah, like, that is quickly becoming subsumed by Igalia, which is, like, constantly growing and doing things. For instance, like, when it comes to the web and working with the web and web companies, like, I think we've already had a all-time high, and, like, now I can see that we already work a lot in kernel and graphics and all of these things. So yeah, I can't
uh,
wait for the next big thing. But yeah.
yeah. So yeah, just to clarify, who are usual client of Igalia? It's like browser creators or some companies. Let it be
Yeah,
like Netflix, and they want to optimize their video codecs.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So basically, anybody who has open source software as part of their stack might need to do something on this, right? And this is where Galia can come in. So basically, we're one of those providers where, like, a lot of companies have a lot of experience hiring private, or let's say not private, but, like, closed source experts for this kind of
Yeah.
thing, where they hire consultants and they say, hey, like, here's our code base, like, can you, I don't know, put this feature in. And our only difference here is, like, we do this for open source projects, because the idea is that maybe we have some special expertise in the project, and what ends up happening is, like, we can find usually somebody who's like really good in that area to do this. So yeah, like the end result is that we can have a number of like experts in many major open source projects and areas in sort of programming and technology in general, and then we can assign them to projects that need to be done. But like, yeah, to talk specifically, most of them are large companies. This is um, like, these, there are a few constraints. We wish we had more smaller companies, for example, as clients, or we wish we had more clients from the rest of the world than the US or Silicon Valley. But that is the biggest sort of descriptor of our clients, and a big reason of that is because of the kind of projects that we work on, and basically like we are very selective. Usually, like, we would not like to do much uh, either work that we believe is harmful or undesirable, or somehow we believe is not uh, fun enough.
For me, Igalia is such a great channel on YouTube with so cool videos about internal work of different stuff.
No.
So it's like a part of your job too, or it's by initiative? How?
Yeah, it is. Like, so a little bit about the structure of Igalia. Igalia is a completely decentralized and uh, a hierarchical, let's say, completely flat organization. And I know that this is like not so quote unquote uncommon in our industry. And there's this idea that like, no, like we're also all equal and completely flat. But I would like to suggest like that this is quite extreme in Igalia in a way that people usually don't predict. We don't have juniors or seniors or
Yeah.
levels or chains of command. Rather, most of the decision making is done like with consensus. Uh, the thing about that is that we can take a long time to decide something. The best part is that no matter what you see when it comes to Igalia, everything, when it comes to our logo, when it comes to our personality, our brand, it is all done by the workers, by these engineers, many of them nerdy and awkward, but like, these people who you know and like and hopefully trust. And not some management consultant, or something like
Yeah.
PwC or Deloitte is not coming in and being like, like, this is how it should look. So I think that's one of our biggest strengths. And I think like, yeah, these days you can see that like people are having a sort of lashback to this big corporate or corporate speak. So I think this is maybe the reason why you like Igalia. Like, obviously, like, you're a programmer, and we don't need to have anything in common, but maybe you can understand that when you see like these videos from Igalia, they're super deep, which is something like I feel that Holy JS is a conference like I always loved and respected for, like the idea of like not
Yeah.
being
Deep
shy.
knowledge, not
Yeah,
just
because in some ways, I don't know, like, and I'm sure like Victor also has opinions on this, but like I feel like our society somehow has gravitated towards this idea that deep knowledge, or like very intense knowledge that is like, hard or arcane or whatever, this is taboo. Like, no, you shouldn't have this. You shouldn't, like, either explain what you want to explain in the simplest way possible, or don't do this. And I don't get it. Like, what's the point if we can have this complex ideas that we debate about, right? But I feel like in much of the world, or in many cultural contexts, it is becoming like, no, let's just avoid this subject, right? Like, it's too complex. And I know that this was not the way that Holy thinks about the topics, but also like you can probably see a little bit of this in Igalia, because at the end of the day, like, it's low level, yes, but so is our engineers, and so is our audience, maybe. So yeah, like I do feel that before I joined Igalia, now it's obviously hard for me to decontextualize and to think like in a unbiased way, but that's how I feel, like that in Igalia, like you see something and it's not polished. It's maybe Apple did a beautiful presentation at WDC. It's not that, but it is something like deeply impactful by an engineer who can't wait to tell you about this, right? So after a point, I don't care about the aesthetics. Like I can't. I just care about the energy and sort of the optimism.
Well, thank you. It's I think it's hard. Like you are always engaged in that complexity of engineering process and complexity of stuff what you do. Like I know you for a long time, and you are like very. Uh, I don't know anybody who is like you, like who can absorb such a lot of information and like pick thing in your brain which connected and then produce stuff which will work correctly with precision. Yeah, but can you like maybe express to us so we will be able to imagine how it works in general in your brain? Because like the difference between cultures is obvious. It's like it's understandable, but difference in between how human brain work, it's
Yeah,
not. Like
absolutely.
how did you learn to work like that?
Well, I can't maybe speak exactly to that because yeah, like I don't know when I started. But I do feel like, to your greater point about, like, this is not just culture. I do see your point, right? Like this is something that is happening across the board. And my understanding is that maybe this is intentional. Like this is something that, as the technology industry or the technology community, that we need to do to make tech more accessible, or like, JavaScript, I think, as a project, as an idea, achieves that to a large extent, right? uh, I'm pretty sure the JavaScript that you know how to write, Victor, but hopefully you don't write this JavaScript anymore. It's considered completely out of sync and out of touch these days.
No,
But I mean, you
I'm
know
doing
which.
exactly that.
Yeah. So the
More, yeah, let's talk then after.
yeah,
Please.
like this language was so complex, and somehow we learned this, and now it's already easier, and with promises and so many things, like JavaScript becomes a breeze. And what this means is that, like, now we can have more and more of the average people understanding what goes inside. And I think that's it. Like, for me, like, I don't have a choice. I kind of have to try as hard as I can to absorb all of these things, because it's my job to, like, to think about these things and give them a fair thought, and see, like, okay, what can be the problems. Maybe there's going to be a problem, and it's going to be my job to, like, figure out before we do anything. So it's like, simulation and modeling, but inside your head. But that's the idea, that, like, you have to, like, consolidate all of this knowledge in order to make something relevant for JavaScript engineers. And I think, like, this applies to even beyond TC39, right? Like, the talking about, like, language and having all of these complex and uh, sometimes contradicting ideas, is that, like, having more and more of this context allows you to make better decisions, to have these mental models, so you can understand, okay, I knew this fact and I knew this fact, but I know, like, these are following a pattern. So something, right? um and yeah, like, this helps you overall in life. But I feel like, in general, like, these days we use generative AI, so context is a popular word, and I think, like, yeah, it gives you more context.
Yeah. Sorry, Dennis, I will interrupt
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
How many languages do you know? I mean, human languages, non-programming
Okay.
languages.
yeah.
Yeah,
um
for
a
understanding, for
few
our audience, yeah.
a
A
few
few?
these
Six or
days,
five?
yeah, I think so. Like, I would say that, like, Spanish now is one of my bigger languages, so that is great. And yeah, there's English and Hindi. That is my main languages that I use these days. But yeah, like if you consider Galician that I speak already a little bit, uh, Russian that I don't speak, no. But yeah,
But
like
you
also
understand
regional
Russian.
Indian language. Yeah, I do understand quite a bit, and I wish I uh, would still
Karaoke.
understand. Like yeah, I need more practice.
So it's 6.
Yeah.
And how many programming languages do you know?
Oh, I don't
What
think that's a
mean?
good question.
Yeah, to know
I
programming
don't,
language.
because I can tell you a few.
I
I can
mean
say that
dialects. Okay, dialects.
uh,
Like we all work with machine code, but like which translations to machine code base you know? Like
yeah,
PHP,
uh,
Python,
yeah.
JavaScript,
I
obviously, C Sharp,
yeah.
C++, whatever. 20,
Um,
50.
eh, except Java. No, I'm kidding. Like the at the beginning, I started with Python and Ruby. I used to love them. So Python, Ruby, and JavaScript, like from the very beginning, have been like my favorite languages in some ways. Like that they serve a very large group of users, are very open-ended, general purpose, and are very successful overall. But yeah, like eventually I stopped caring or thinking because uh, they all merge into each other eventually. The most recent one, I guess we were talking about this the other day, is GDScript, which is used in Godot and looks a lot like TypeScript. ArcTS is something that I'm thinking about these days. It's obviously like not a proper programming language maybe, but they're starting to make it into one, like a real standard and language. So yeah, like I don't know, like I stopped counting eventually because how many languages do there?
Yeah.
Well,
So,
my
and the different culture, like each language, never mind, programming language or human language, they have like culture inside.
Exactly.
Yeah, and will that temporal proposal to help with culture in between languages? Like, sorry, Dennis, it's my final question.
yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely say that like there's differences in cultures of different languages and their communities. But yeah, like when you're talking about something like temporal, I feel like this is one thing that is gonna eventually go everywhere. So we already see that people in the Python space are starting to create some things. And the other day, my colleague, who worked with us but is on a different space, right? He went to a conference and this was a Racket conference for Racket programming language for functional programmers. Really fun language, but like yeah, like they are doing a mini temporal because they're doing like basically the same class names and so on. So it's like yeah, it's really funny. Like obviously we're very happy that people are starting to pick up on this as well. But yeah, like the goal is to push things forward when it comes to this uh, particular culture around dates and times, right? Because as we were talking, like there's this idea that no, there's one calendar that is actually the better calendar. These misconceptions, or that oh, like this leap year or leap day or leap month, it cannot affect me. Like, of course, it can affect you. It can affect everyone. So yeah, like hopefully things are smoothing out and we're gonna have like a sharing of culture in this way.
Wow, wow. So it is more global than I thought before. Yeah. Dennis, your question. Sorry.
Yeah. My questions was particularly about your journey. Yeah, how you become.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, in an addition, you once said that there are 36 languages in India, and you know at least 6 of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's more. And yeah, I think I was uh, playing with the numbers a little bit because
Oh,
yeah, there's a lot more than 36. And hopefully back then I knew, well, not hopefully, but probably back then I knew less than six. But yeah, I mean, there's so many languages in India. And like officially, there's too many like these 36 or more officially scheduled languages. But yeah, like it's as you say, right? Like it's a continent almost. It's a subcontinent of a lot of people with a lot of these different cultures. Um, I wish it was better represented in technology, but unfortunately, it's still a few
About
steps away.
Johnny, about
Yeah,
what was Dennis asking. So you
exactly.
started programming in age of 4 or 5?
Well, I mean, it can be said so if you consider like these shitty, well, not shitty because it helped me, but programming tools like, Logo and all of this, like where you have this pointer and you teach the kid, you have to do forward and backward and you can draw a line, right? And this really piqued my interest. I remember there was Q Basic and Visual Basic, and Basic really, really destroyed me. Like, because I think using a computer back then was very weird. Like I know that this sounds like maybe I'm older than I actually am, but like basically also keep in mind that I was in India and like things were still shaping up. So when it came to the computer, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna open the computer and play a video game. Like you could just open the computer and do whatever, right? Like people love to just snoop around, and so the idea was that somebody uh like like me who's obsessed with computers and these forms and these windows and these cute little buttons, now you have Visual Basic, and now you can build like these simple Windows applications and like all of these pop-ups and all of these. It was absolutely crazy. Like I lost my mind over Visual Basic, and I think that was a big impetus for me to like keep going in this direction. uh the rest of my journey, I would say, like originally wanted to do video games. Like I wanted to be seriously like a video games programmer. I'm so happy that I avoided that industry because the working conditions are very nice.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, like, my frustration was that I was not an artist, I was a programmer, and I couldn't do everything myself. But as soon as I learned about front end, I was crazy because it's like you can do everything as a programmer. You can just basically write everything. And so yeah, back then nobody told me that I should not be able to write CSS or something. Like I just did everything, and this was like blowing up my mind. So yeah, like by the time I went to university, it it's not like I knew something crazy, but like to be where I was, like I knew React or like basic web, like programming. And the thing is that like it was not so massive like what I knew, but having that slight bit of a difference, it allowed me to like use that best, right? Because a lot of people now are thinking, oh, what should I do? I already know React, so now I can talk to people already and start doing things. But yeah, like for me, the only turning point after this was this idea that somebody gave me, which is that like I should keep going more and more like low level if I can. I remember like it was Node.js or something or some front end work that I've been doing, but I felt like after a while that I was pretty like plateauing, and that like I'm happy where I am and whatever, like I'm a cool programmer. And this like senior of mine who was a great helpful uh figure, let's say, was the one to give me a give me some sense and say, hey, you're an idiot, like you can't stop, learning. So you need to keep going deeper and deeper. You need to go a level deeper. And I don't know, I think he should have told me when to stop, because I keep going, and now I'm like, yeah, digging into programming languages and in assembly and all of this. And so yeah, this person probably just wanted me to be DevOps or something, but uh, yeah, this is
Yeah,
my yeah.
yeah. I think we have pretty popular question now about AI and JavaScript and about committed, how they interact. Like, there are some maybe proposals about AI already, or maybe there are some processes which are interacts with AI in some ways.
Yeah, it's a very controversial topic, like in many places. No, there's no proposals that do AI or anything like this at all. There might be some proposals that might help in the technology to do AI, like behind the scenes. But no, if anything, TC39 has had a lot of debates whether, like, what we're calling AI in this case is usually
Yeah,
LLMs. And the idea is like that we restrict LLM usage, and that issues or something that are created by LLMs are
yeah, but
maybe,
that's part of your job, like to
yeah,
create proposals, to review them,
exactly.
or it's not allowed for now.
Yeah, I'm
No.
sorry. Well, it is about 1 hour spent. Do you need a break or something like that?
Yeah, can we take like a quick break and
Yeah, just because you woke less than an hour ago. Okay, Dennis, let's make a break. Let's like 5 minutes.
5
Is it
minutes.
okay? Yeah.
I think we can continue for now.
Yeah, we both with you.
Yeah, we both. But yeah, Ujjwal, you can take a break.
thank you. Give me a second.
Yeah. So, what do you think?
I think it's really interesting because, yeah, it's my first touch to. I don't know how to say it correctly because I've never talked with such people
Yeah.
who are so close to my favorite language, and
It was like absolutely mind blowing for me when I saw him first time. It was about like 2018 or something like that, and I just was unable to believe a person like him exists at all. Like he traveled from India. He was like pretty young, about 18 or even less, like maybe 16 years old. And he knew so much more than I did. And I wasn't able to like even imagine how he was able to find the time to learn all that stuff. Yeah. But like it happens.
yeah, it's really exciting.
World is a wonderful place. Yeah. I'm glad to know him. Just like I'm glad to know Dmitry, the other guys who are much more knowledgeable than me.
By the way, Victor, did you discuss some proposals about propose? I talk about issues maybe, or some ways to interact with proposals with your
yeah,
teams.
we did it often, but like my sphere of interest is different from what guys usually expect. Yeah, and I'm not a front ender. I'm more about language. And once we had discussion of that, that if you had asynchronous getters and asynchronous setters, then you have to bring a new like achievements in form of proposals to JavaScript, because you definitely need to await for setter. So you need a result which is promised, and you cannot do this in modern JavaScript. Yeah, so like asynchronous getters and setters are in the language. It happened occasionally, but it works like that.
It's
like,
possible.
So
with no sugar, but possible.
Yeah, and I asked him with help about that. The other stuff was not a proposal, but like my effort to correct specification in case of defining what is this keyword there. Yeah.
Which keyword?
So he made this like this keyword. Pointer.
Yeah.
I was trying to explain that null is not a bad thing, because null is type of object, and I knew all that stuff about null, but I just wanted to point that modern JavaScript is different, and in spite of what Brandon did when he started the journey with language, today that null is type of object is like much more explanationable. It's explain more things that was defined in like once it was done, like 25 years ago, 27 for now. And yeah, but they declined my effort, obviously. They said like language works like it should be working. And we describing how it works. We don't describe why it should be working like that. And yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And then some other stuff. I asked about Chrome developer tools, why they work like in a different way. They had a lot of bugs. I mean, in sort of specification, yeah. So they do not allow you to work with some like very deep and neat things, but in general they work, but not with everything.
Yeah,
So, like,
as we know, Chrome terminal isn't real JavaScript because there are some differences with typical languages, like curly braces. It's not an object, but a block by first try.
Yeah, and yes, he was working with Chrome developer tools also, showing some stuff there. He did a lot of work with Electron. He helped to Rindal with Dina. I mean, there was some participation in crafting next Dina version. I think now it's version 2. So he did so many things in different systems, subsystems, and like currently I may say he even less than 30. Like we may ask which age is he now, but anyway, it's amazing. 5 minutes. Okay. But you see, he may not awake when needed.
Yeah. There are some
guys,
questions.
I think let's review YouTube channel questions.
There are no really.
I think Timur was asking about will it help with time zones?
Yeah, we can ask about, but I think it was answered already. Like the first part of our podcast was about time zones.
When he was introducing what he's doing there in Temporal.
Okay.
Is it answered? Yeah.
Temporal.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't get that. That work with time zones. Like, what is a practical way to use that? Like, I think Timur is asking about practice. He's not asking about how wonderful it is to work with time zones. And the next question was when, but yes, when was answered. Like, it's stage 3 now, and it's moving to stage 4, and there should be no delays with that.
And there are some environments where it's working already.
Yeah. And Ujjwal made, I think, at least 3 talks about Temporal on international conferences last year, like 2025. So what should we expect? Let's ask him again. Will he join us? And when? Like 5 minutes? 5 minutes?
I think it will be occasionally.
Yeah. But yeah, like you like, let's explain what we did. When he was absent, we started calling him, please as well. We knew he is sleeping. Yeah, and he joined it like in about 3 minutes after he woke up.
That was fast.
That was fast. Yeah, I saw him just like washing his face, and then he joined. Maybe break will last for more than 5 minutes. So guys, in
Okay.
comments, like say if you like it or not. Like we need feedback. Let me try to switch. Like I will. I think
Yeah.
there will be break for me also because I have internet issues.
Okay, but we have Uджвал here.
Yep.
So yeah, we already discussed a little bit about languages, but what do you think about JavaScript now? Like, it is your favorite languages for now, or maybe you have another love?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I would say that in terms of its impact in what I said, right? Like, JavaScript is clearly, in my opinion, one of the programming languages that has made programming in general a lot easier for people and like opened up programming and application development and so many things to new people. It's not. Um, so difficult these days to build simple pages, and that's kind of like, there was a time when people used to go to university to learn how to
Yeah.
build web pages. So yeah, like but yeah, like apart from this, like there's definitely a lot of languages that I really appreciate, because like looking from that perspective, I'm always looking at a programming language in terms of like, yeah, well, like what can I learn from them, what do I appreciate, what can I take back home with me. What I do like is what I mentioned earlier, like GD script. Like I have been writing this a lot lately. Like this is for my personal project, obviously, but it's quite fun to be maintaining like a large code base of this programming language.
What
And
about paradigm? Like OOP or
Mhm.
functional programming?
Yeah.
What about it? What do you like the most? Like, true engineers who should write only functional code, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I think like that is a thing that we love to do, and we love to do that because it makes us feel excited and sort of more engaged in this. But that's not true, right? Like it's obviously gonna depend a lot on what you're doing and why. And yeah, like when I get into a code base, especially like I have to usually go into uh old existing open source code base that has other maintainers that are not gonna let me do whatever I want, that are not gonna like and has been like made a lot of decisions, right? So maybe the decision to use globals, I might agree with your paradigm, but I still don't agree with globals. So it's like it's a complex issue. Usually I don't think so much about it, because it's like it's the question of
Just a tool.
whether sorry
It's just a tool.
yes,
Like,
exactly, right? Like that you're getting to attach to your tools. And instead what I think about is like, how many paradigms can I know about, and how much can I know about them, so it's like that I can basically think uh better or like more unbiased when I make a new application. The problem, however, is like you have to talk about like this problem of compiler engineers. Like now I'm more in a developer advocate kind of um, position, but still the programming languages, and you have the person in me, right? And yeah, like we're not only obsessed with all of these models and thinking about them, but it's like uh, a compiler's engineer at some level is always just writing a parser, and so it's like
yeah.
for now it seems like no matter which paradigm I think about, like every like piece of software that I write is a parser. Like even the video game that I'm talking about, it's basically a parser because it's like, well, I mean, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating it, right? But the idea is like everything is a state machine, and that like you're constantly thinking about, okay, yeah, there's this state and that state, and it should be like that. So yeah, I guess you can say that that is some way to do functional programming. I generally agree with the ideas of functional programming. I have to say, I mean, I have no love for Java. I grew up still with OOP. Like when I was in school, they teach us OOP, but in C++. When I was in university, again, it was OOP in C++. So yeah, I get it. Like, and also all of these code bases that I've worked with have a lot of like OOP patterns, like classes doing everything basically, right? But I have to say that like I usually don't think that lends itself to good programming. And like one of the only places where I still did a lot of like OOP kind of programming, is
Yeah,
video games, because in video games I usually think of my things as like a class and an object and
yeah,
this way.
and
But
they
even this is
interact.
changing.
Yeah,
Yeah, so now there's the, like, talking of these paradigms, there's the ECS paradigm, entity component system, for video game. So instead of having this OOP kind of model, you have this ECS model where you have these entities and components, and yeah. So yeah, basically, like, I think, um like, rather than fixating about any of these, I tend to think about like what is going to make this code base better. And usually, no matter what's the answer, I build a state machine anyway, just for fun.
so yeah, everything we are doing is like to creating a state and how it can, and describe how it should be changed and to be
Yeah,
visible. Uh
because like it solves a lot of your problems, right? That's the thing. Like it's kind of functional in that way, but not having this state. It's like when I was learning, somebody told me, oh, like, you don't need state, or you don't have state. I might have thought, like, as a starting programmer, what's the point of that? Like, I need state. That's where I change all of my data. Like, I love this stuff. And then you see a lot of cursed code, and you see a lot of bugs, and you spend a lot of time beating your head against the wall. And then you realize, I don't want state. Like, I want my code to have nothing, like no boundaries, nothing. Like, it's just, so I get it. Like,
Give
basically,
me lambda calculus.
yeah.
There are no states, only functions.
What I can say though is, like, we can see by and large that in programming, there's this convergence happening, that a lot of these various different ecosystems, they started in their own ways. There was functional programming, there was object oriented programming, and Java inspired JavaScript, and this whole movement of like object oriented prototypal, uh
Yeah,
chaotic agents were sent out to talk about JavaScript. Now you can see, like, let's say, an evolution of this platform, of this ideology is Dino somehow, right? Like, is uh, a way to build your JavaScript application. And then I remember, like, a Gleam event the other day. So
yeah,
if you know about Gleam for Erlang and Elixir, like this new runtime and language for this Beam VM,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it looks exactly the same. So it's like I can see that, like, we're coming from different areas, but we're converging on this, and it's very similar ideas that we have of concurrent programming. How can we make like a better model for people to write their code that is expressive, but at the same time, you have this understanding that it's going to be more performant than you're writing this, right? So yeah, this is how I can describe JavaScript, where it's like you write with promises, and your understanding is not that, oh, like I know that I'm going to optimize this. You don't know this. This is what C developers used to do, like where they would manually like horrible stuff, right? What you do have to do, what JavaScript does ask you is say, okay, like can you do one thing? Can you isolate this? Can you isolate this into a function, into a simple function that has no state, that can take some arguments, do something, and give a result, or it can fail. And so that is a promise, right? Like these basic
Yeah.
assumptions where we can take something and say like, okay, this is unaffected by everything else. And yeah, like I think this is what really inspires me in general in functional programming or whatever. What I do not like is the elitism, or like how much
Yeah, yeah.
academic it can be.
Truly, true
Yeah,
developers and
exactly.
developers of languages.
Like this is not practical to anyone. Like to take your language or whatever and to make it into something more niche itself is I mean not great. I have to say, like, because of all of these things, like the only functional programming language that I managed to get a little bit into was Haskell. And yeah, anytime I tell any functional programmers that, they just laugh at me as well. So yeah, I don't know. There's like a lot of conflict.
If we talk
Uh,
about, yeah,
sorry, sorry.
one, yeah.
Just an addition. Ask a question. Then sorry.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. If we talk about language influences on each other, what about TypeScript and how it influence on TC39? Maybe, yeah,
Yeah.
you don't think about it. It's their problem how you type it.
No. Yeah, it cannot be. Like TypeScript is one of the closest languages to JavaScript. It's also it's very complex, the relationship between JavaScript and TypeScript, right? Like it's much easier to think about any other two languages and to think about their relationship. Let me explain our point of view, right? Like TypeScript is the closest language to JavaScript. It is also with a huge overlap, right? Because TypeScript is, in a way, like all JavaScript is valid TypeScript. And so there's all of these constraints, the fact that the TypeScript committee, like the people who are behind TypeScript, basically, they are there in TC39 and from time to time helping us, guiding us with things. So it's like they're very closely connected to each other, and it's very hard at any given moment to understand what's influencing what, right? It's like it's a feedback loop, and it's spinning, and it's like,
Yeah,
how do I explain? Like it's a chaos machine, literally, because on the JavaScript side, we're saying, okay, we're gonna take these measured, like reasoned, calculative stances, because this is like a stable programming language, standard programming language that will never change. And the philosophy on the TypeScript side is completely different, right? On the
yeah,
philosophy on
yeah,
the TypeScript side is that we can break anything, we can rewrite our compiler. This is a compiled, like this is not even a runtime language. This is a compile time language, which means that we can control anything. We control the compiler. That means we control everything, right? So I think it's a very interesting philosophy, and it's a very different philosophy that kind of works for them. What this does mean is that TypeScript is super popular among JavaScript developers and in general with developers. And so what this means is that both languages kind of really benefit from each other. So
yeah.
in both ways, like JavaScript features get boosted with TypeScript and like spread out to the whole wide world, and people get obsessed about it. On the other hand, like TypeScript is a great way for JavaScript to, and I'm not saying that we should start doing this officially, but informally to test out like ideas and features and think how it goes.
But as I know, okay, Victor.
Yeah,
Ask.
yeah, I'm okay with that about TypeScript, but TypeScript not always allow you to do whatever you want. It depends even on version of TypeScript, which JavaScript would you have, like how it would compile, and it just didn't work always. Like it mostly work with JavaScript, but if you need things like prototypes, like you should check it always. Like each version change, you will definitely have to check, is it still working? Like, is your compilation process still working in spite you didn't change TypeScript config at all?
No.
Yeah.
It's very hard, but one thing that is true is like, yeah, it is nowhere near a standardized programming language, and this is one of the biggest challenges as well as strengths for them, because this means that they can experiment as they do. But yeah, like this also makes it hard for us or RTS to like base on top of.
Those guys with RTS,
Yeah.
what they will have like in final, like
That's
when they
yeah,
will
that's a great
achieve
question.
result, what will they achieve? Because
Yeah.
I see that like there are connections,
Mhm.
but what sort of connections? What kind of connections? How like RTS is? It definitely will be extremely popular language soon, just because amount of people who will be using it.
Yeah.
Just because they will
It will be
be
the
like
new
forced
like
to use it.
Kotlin in a way, right? Like it will be in many ways like the programming languages to sorry, to build like applications for mobile phones, and that is massive. Like I remember how many people were obsessed with Java, for example, when I was growing, just because of Android, right? Like that they maybe had some concerns about the language, but whatever, like it's the language that we do Android, so I need this to get a job. So it's like, yeah, RTS can be in a very similar position also. It's backed by Huawei, so let's see, like the market penetration can get super high depending on who else adopts it and how it goes. Another idea is like it will be an application language in a way for non-mobile applications as well. So like, uh, for maybe tablets and small computers. And yeah, like I think it's quite interesting. This is like taking further this idea that we already have again informally, right, on JavaScript with like the hybrid apps and like all of these different ways to run like cross-platform applications on JavaScript.
But there is an issue because JavaScript and TC39 is open. I don't know. You have ECMAScript as a standard.
No.
So, but in TypeScript we don't have
Yeah, exactly.
references, and all we can is just their tests, and yeah, just check by tests,
Yeah, trust
are
me,
we
bro.
compatible, with TypeScript or not. So for me it's a really big question, because TypeScript is a standard for JavaScript, but it's owned by one company in
Yeah,
that
no.
way.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we are talking about RTS. It's a
Yeah.
different dialect which from Huawei company.
Okay.
It's the other language. It looks like TypeScript but works different in like
Yeah.
some pieces of, because it's compiled.
Yeah.
It will compile to machine code in executable file. So I'm sorry, guys. Taking back to the talk about functional programming. You both know that Lisp programming language and John McCarthy and all that story in Massachusetts Technological University. What was happening there about, like, it was hacking. It was not about like just writing code. It was always hacking. And I think that what you do in Igalia is maybe something kind of that. Just
Yeah.
because you always getting deeper and deeper and deeper, as you was talking about, and those guys who was like inventing everything we have now, except of maybe that math, which was happening before in about 1949, that group of mathematics who invented like in general computer science. Like then there was Massachusetts Technological University meet and Lisp programming language with John McCarthy as a head of that language. So, and just like after that happened what happened. Lambda calculus and all that stuff, and then diversion between like functional programming languages, procedural programming languages, and I think that like this AI movement will absorb everything we know now, and there will be the other language like in comparison to the what we have now, imperative programming, functional programming. There must be the only language born which will not allow human to understand what's going on. That's because it will be faster for AI itself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like I was curious about that because like this is what we were talking about earlier, right? With the JavaScript model, where it's like obviously you don't have to do everything yourself. The idea is that there is this level of abstraction. And with JavaScript, that level of abstraction is like instruction versus execution, right? Like running the code, the runtime is another expense. So don't think about this. Write your code as a function and wrap this function in a promise and be sure that it's going to figure out, the CPU is going to figure out whatever is the efficient way to schedule this. And I think this is amazing. This is something that I personally struggle with in Python, that I don't want to tell you how to like manage. It's like if Linux asks me, hey, like, do you want to configure, how do you want me to schedule tasks? It's like, no, I want you to schedule tasks because you know how to schedule tasks. I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah,
and
like,
that's more like about Prolog language.
yeah,
You know, that ancient stuff when you declare what you want and mention just
yeah,
calculus how it should be done.
exactly.
Yeah, I think that maybe we will still have JavaScript as a platform for that new language, because like everything what you may just imagine, it might be converted to proper JavaScript. Just
Yeah.
because all that stuff that JavaScript includes, and most of that was like done at the first version of specification of JavaScript. So you may uh, do whatever you want using just JavaScript or something that transpiles into.
Mhm.
Now, maybe we will still have no shift from our core language, guys, even though it will be used between machines. So we will be able to understand what they're doing. So yeah, like taking this as a like starting point, let's think what maybe we like may
Oh, I
present
actually, yeah,
to like keep it holding in that way.
yeah,
So it will definitely be happening. It will definitely be shift from human understandable programming language to that like machine code, which machines in between themselves will be talking on. And
yeah, exactly. I think like there can be a two-layer structure, right? Where you have the overall structure and the user-defined structure. And I think like I need to go back to this question that Dennis asked me a long time ago, where it was like, what's happening in the AI or sort of LLM space? I guess it cannot happen in the JavaScript side because like there's only so much we can do. This is a programming language. It's kind of really theoretical. But on the web side, where they do have like, they can build APIs for the browsers and they have some like, possibility to build this kind of tools, they are building tools. So it's like there's a big chance that like LLMs are going to be built into your browsers. So, over time, if the technology goes in the direction that is understood that it will go into, hopefully the idea will be that you will have on device LLMs and browser APIs to manage these LLMs. And what you're going to do is like just use JavaScript to uh to serve this, right? So basically, Victor, what you were saying, like basically you have JavaScript, like a very maybe even simpler future version of JavaScript that is going to be used to do the basic plumbing. Like, okay, here's the page, here's the box, like the text goes from the box to the LLM, and then however the LLM is going to render the thing. And yeah, like the actual user defined logic is happening, like as in the pseudocode or whatever the prompt is going from the user directly to the LLM. And maybe it doesn't even need a server, like it can all happen on the client side. So again, like I am going crazy with the hypotheticals here, but the idea is that like
We already can talk about on-site MCP. Yeah, there was a time when we talking about MCP servers, but what if our pages on website could have such MCP? Yeah, to do things.
for sure.
It don't need the human anymore. They can connect and
So,
speak.
but anyway, like what may we do to keep it talking on like something we may understand? Like everybody understands JavaScript, and even if you don't know JavaScript, for example, you are from other language, you will like spend 5 minutes and you will understand what's going on there. So if somehow like something like debugging tools for LLM protocols, or maybe just like AI protocols in general, will be convertible to the form which you will be able to recognize as a like language, as a thing that have patterns, and you may learn how that patterns works. So it might be looking like Lisp or something like that. It might be looking like Prolog. It might be looking like other thing, but
yeah, I mean,
because your prompt is definitely Prolog. You declaring what you want to do.
yeah, for sure. Like I see your point, and definitely there's gonna be a different language that is gonna be more efficient to communicate to an LLM than English and in a programming language. So I think over time we might develop this like sort of a almost semi-tokenized language already that we can help
Yes,
the LLM.
yes, and that's Kenneth Iverson with his work.
We will be have another task. Like now we convert our language to machines. So if we talk about LLM's language, and it will be more appropriate to them than our old, ancient, human understandable languages. So there will be such thing like monitor for that language. Yeah, you can see on LLM's language, LLM's understandable language, and see understandable by human language.
Okay.
So it can be converted again to be understandable.
Yes.
Did you see this thing? They recently did a social network for LLMs.
Yeah. And you see,
fun. I gave you a link in the chat. What was I talking about? That a programming language which was invented by Kenneth Iverson. So it looks like very different from what we have now, but it's extremely efficient in terms of describing what should be done, and that's what's about like 40 years ago done.
Yeah, I will send it to the chat.
Yeah. So maybe it needs tooling for like human understandable representation of what is going on there.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, it's complex to answer this kind of problems, right? Because ultimately, a programming language is a thinking tool. It's not much different from others. So it's like, how do you help people think, or let's say, how do you help people write code in the same pace that they're thinking? And so
that is why I was asking you how your brain absorb all that stuff you absorb it, like how you manage to handle all this in your head, and then how it kind of, because my own brain works different ways. I am truly imperative, one by one, step by step, and it's not like it's just not working like that for me. I don't know about Dennis, but your brain works differently. So how it even possible to connect all that stuff? It's too complicated, but it's definitely recognizable, but because you are able to talk. at first. The machine talks between each other. They have their own network for nowadays. But anyway, it's very hard to predict when it will happen. That then will don't need us anymore. Maybe they will be still servicing us just for help, just for humanity. Anyway, they will need electricity. and we will be helping them to still be working. Matrix. Did you saw last the last series of Matrix? That movie.
Yeah. I can't
Yeah.
help think about all of the people who became an engineer after looking at Matrix, and now they're thinking about the future of this industry. Like, okay, I mean, the movie was real.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have other questions, or maybe we may continue the next time?
Maybe there are something what Ujjwal can say.
Okay.
Want to say, to our audience.
Maybe you want to present something.
Yeah, maybe, or something
about your last talk, for example.
Sure. The last talk, let me think. If I understand correctly, I think I was talking about TC39 or message format. But let me maybe mention message format. So message format is something that we've been building on the web and beyond. Like, it is the future in many ways, similar to how temporal was in many ways the future of dates and times, because like we were or are I don't know, like, are obsessive people and are very excited by this idea of like making a big change that is like in a scale different than what is there before. So the idea is similar with message format, but to change everything for internationalization, it's going to be the ultimate, like, or in many ways it is, when you talk about the format, it is the ultimate system for internationalization. But yeah, like, basically the idea is that this is a standard. We finally published this in Unicode. But yeah, like, if you think about this template strings and like simple stuff with, like, okay, how to use a different language here or something, it completely changes the game, because it takes like some of the simplest and basic features, and then uh obviously, like, it takes it all the way to the most powerful or features, or again, like, to make a comparison with temporal, how temporal thinks about calendars or something, like, in some ways think out of the box, or think like, okay, how can we affect beyond the present, like, maybe change the future of this technology. And yeah, like, it does this by having a lot of these interesting features of custom functions, custom formatters that you can plug in, that you can maybe even have a module system of sorts for this um, templating, right? Internationalization, like, there's rarely any systems that are that powerful.
Yeah, and that message format is, what is it for?
So the idea is that it is a general purpose internationalization format, and that people will use this. So what is it for? Like, specifically, it's a format to write down a message, like, independent of language, right? So let's say that I can write a message in Russian, then I can take
Okay.
the variable that I have in my message out, replace this by some placeholder, maybe some syntax that will replace the variable. Also, what I can do, I can take a whole part of the sentence, I can remove this, and I can replace this by an expression. And the result of this expression is going to be, let's say, the calling of a function, right? And the calling of a function depends on some value. So you can say, okay, if there is let's say one person, then have this sentence,
Yeah.
and if there's multiple people, have this sentence. Or you can say that, yeah, for one gender, have this sentence, for the other gender, have this. So it's like, it's a, let's say, like a very powerful format for writing this simple internationalizable messages for any application. So the idea is that because this is Unicode, that eventually you will be able to reuse these messages on the front or at the back, or wherever, whichever application you use.
It is just like language which programs languages. So it's just like lingua franca between languages.
But for the internationalization system specifically, so it's like, it's only for writing messages, it's only for writing text. It's a language for writing text, right? Like,
Okay.
let's say that English is a language, or Russian is a language for writing text, except it has all of these very, very programmatic concepts. So it doesn't have loops, for example, but it has everything else. It has variables, obviously, and functions and all of these things. But the kinds of like strengths that you have built in, so it does know, for example, the pluralization rules of every language. So it's going to find out that Russian has how many plural categories, Russian has how many, let's say, ordinal categories, cardinal categories. So you can say first, second. How do you construct this kind of things, like the let's say language or internationalization info that you need to construct this is all available there. So that's the
Well,
idea.
so
That
it will be able to convert from native language of one state to native language of the other state, and everything will be understood exact as it should be.
pretty much, like, you'll have to write the messages yourself, but the rules, like, you can write your messages like a program, like an expression, and they will evaluate at runtime. So you can codify in the whole message that, okay, this message can work for any amount of people, okay, except if there's only one person, change this word, and if there's more, change this word. So it's like, it's a programming language for this stuff, you know if it makes sense. Like, it's a language where you can express in the shortest way and in the most, let's say, friendly way for translators and for programmers. Because think about this, some tools are designed for programmers.
Yeah.
Programmers are not the only users. Some tools are designed for translators, but then programmers hate them. We are designing something that is going to work for both, and like, that's the idea, right? That
So you will apply cultural context of like direction of work.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. How
Yeah,
should it be
it's
possible? I don't understand.
it sounds too futuristic for me.
Yeah.
uh let me say it
It's all,
like this. So in any platform that you're developing an application, you're going to have some internationalization system.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
most
yeah.
of these that people are using are very basic, and they are different, and they are completely dependent on the platform. There's no standard when it comes to this stuff
yeah,
whatsoever.
obviously.
And so developers are completely confused. The idea is that after message format 2, this thing that we have published is going to be implemented in most places. You're going to be able to use the same assets everywhere. So you can create like your whatever corpus, your database for a language, and then just use it everywhere. Or you can download like an open source corpus that is going to already have basic messages like thank you in 15,000 languages,
So we don't need transliteration anymore.
Not really. Or like, you can reuse this. Now there is a standard for this artifacts that the translators create. So what you can do is, like, you can take this, you can edit this like any file, obviously, like from a text editor. But yeah, like, it's a very programmer friendly format. It's not a binary format that's like completely understandable to anybody who doesn't work in a proprietary stuff. But yeah, like, the idea is that you can reuse this across the stack. You can maybe even download from npm. Let's say there's an npm package for welcome in every single language. So you can, yeah, basically, you
And
reuse stuff a lot more and
Uh,
share stuff a lot more.
for example, I'm sorry, Dennis. I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
interrupting
yeah,
you
No
yeah.
worries.
all the time. I have my code base written in like STI or UTF format using like first 128 symbols from there. So it's pretty much English symbols.
Yeah, ASCII, like literally ASCII. Right?
Yeah, but there are a lot of difference. Okay, that 128 symbols, and I like this code base is written like using that symbols, but all the names of functions, all the names of arguments, everything that I've been thinking of is like labeled in transliteration from Russian to like just that symbols. So my function names includes like things that matter for me, but they are just converted from symbols I have in my like primary language, and then I just wrote them using transliteration rules. So names are meaningless, absolutely meaningless for any person who doesn't know JavaScript or who doesn't know Russian. But there are still names in ASCII format. How would this thing help me like analyze? Like I have message with my code base. And would it be able to recognize patterns of language which is converted to English, but the idea of what was written is not? Like
That's a
cultural
great
context,
question.
will be I
Yeah.
able to apply the transliteration table? So
Mhm.
it will convert backward, forward, backward, forward twice, and only then it will be English.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it really must come down to the implementation. So the idea is like what we built was a standard and this format, right? So the format sounds very appealing, except it's not, right? Like it's just a format, so it doesn't do much by itself. And then the question is like, how are people going to use this in the most cases? So the JavaScript part is what I'm personally excited about. Like I wish that we were doing that faster, but it's not. Emily, the other person who's been working on the JavaScript things from Mozilla, has been the one working actually on the website now. So there's a chance that we will get native DOM localization, that this will be part of the DOM, like you can uh, have messages or have a format. But the question is like, what is going to be this tool, right, that is going to expose it? And it feels right now for most of the people, the way they can use this is in ICU. So ICU is this like C++ and Java library that does internationalization. And so yeah, like if you have the Java ICU4J set up in your project, let's say, right now you can do something very simple, which is for any of the languages that are supported by ICU to use these messages, right? So to answer that question more specifically, no, it will not be possible because at the moment it's only available in ICU, and ICU only supports a number of languages, and you have to specify. And unfortunately, like this is also true for JavaScript, right? Like when you do internationalization in JavaScript, you have to give a two-letter language code, and it checks if it supports this language or not. And if it doesn't, it just like changes logic and falls back to something else. So yeah, this is like the constraint here, but the format itself doesn't um how do I say, like preclude from your use case. So it's like it could work. The question is like, where's the data? Because the format itself doesn't define the data model. It does define the data model of the syntax, so like the data model of the AST, but like it assumes that you're getting language data from somewhere. Like that is a very weird, I get like aspect of the standard where it's like
Is it like ontological model or something like?
it's literally a grammar. It's a language grammar.
Ah,
So it's
so
like it's a set of rules regarding how to write a message.
it's not Bacchus-Nair form or something like that. It's just
It is. It
like
is. It's ABNF.
oh, it's BNF. Okay.
Uh, it's basically a syntax. Like the idea is that how can you develop this syntax for natural language that can express all the different structures that people use in their day-to-day usage of natural language, right? And for most languages.
Maybe they would have to pick Esperanto or something like that.
But there are some phrases which are meaningless in different languages.
Yeah,
So
for
how
sure. I
it
mean,
should be treated? Yeah, there are some.
it's
It
hard, and it's something that like it's part of the internationalization problem. Like, how do you convert something? I remember like
which
uh
aren't convertible.
yeah, yeah, like I remember like have you folks seen Harry Potter?
Yeah, why
In
not?
the Harry Potter movie, there's a not just the movie, like I guess also in the books. In the Harry Potter books and movies, there's the point where there's this huge reveal, right? Like that Voldemort used to be this guy, used to be Tom Riddle, and that like there's this scene where I remember like the name of Tom, it's like Tom Marvolo Riddle, and it flips and it's like I am Lord Voldemort, and like dramatic. And they had to do this in every language. So for every language, Voldemort is named and Tom Riddle is named in a way that they can make the scene, because they have to make the scene that his name should rearrange, right? So it's like that's the kind of challenges. Like obviously, depending on the kind of applications that you're making, you're gonna have a lot of crazy internationalization challenges. Our goal here is to give developers the most like convenient and the easiest tools that they can have to build these apps, so it's easier.
And we have problem even with working you known languages. Like one language is a really hard
Exactly.
problem, especially I'm studying Chinese, and there are no spaces in
Hmm.
text.
No.
So there is into fragment 2, to split by word sentences, so it can't 100% correctly split even the known language. And I have no idea how it's possible to
For sure,
to
for
have.
sure. This is my point. Like when we do this internationalization stuff, we struggle so much with languages, with calendars. So it's like we are already struggling with a lot of these existing things. So it's like this is why ICU is designed the way it is, where it's like, yeah, like they would rather you work with the few calendars that they do have an idea about, and trust me, like even those are complicated because you can't tell. Like I was just talking with someone the other day about the Islamic calendars, and we had such a crazy conversation because I mean Islamic calendars are complicated. They are dependent on an observation. And so, you know, how do
Oh,
you how do you have this, right? Like, do you know this, by the way? Like how the Islamic calendar works, how the months change. Like there has to be this physical observation of the moon. So like either there's observation or simulation. And so there's a lot of these programming calendars that simulate the astronomical cycle, I don't know, for thousands of years, so they can predict when the month is going to change. Like it's very complex.
So having all that assumptions that people may talk about the same thing, meaning the same thing, uh, I, I personally don't understand how is it possible, because, like, for example, even like I think it's about every and each country that people in general are talking on the same language about the same ideas, meaning different things, even with
yeah.
exactly the same intonation, exactly the same pronunciation, but they mean something different. How would you apply context? Like for me, it was obvious that first of all, I should apply something like emotional thing, something like sympathy or empathy. But how do I explain it to my CPU? How
No,
would I
one thing
translate
is
that?
like this is not for user defined messages. Well, you could probably do it for user defined messages, but this is for static messages. Well, or again, like static in the most traditional sense. Obviously these are these days not static at all, they're very dynamic. That's kind of the point. But yeah, like very static text that is coming from your website or your application. So like how do you put text on a button that is going to work in every language? And it's like it's not going to have to need all of that, because you're kind of like it's a limited context where you can specify that like what you mean. So
Hmm.
there is no doubt, like you are the ones who are communicating there. And yeah, like you're right that like if something is coming from another person or like another user, then to understand the context of that and to make the translation can be much more difficult. But that's not the goal here. I guess that's why like the translation tools exist, because they cannot
Exactly.
accurately do it. Yeah, but like this is for accurate like translations that are deterministic, like they are this is basically a way to specify. Okay, I got it, like an executable text file. Like you can write an executable text file and you can say, okay, like instead of writing a word or a sentence, I have written an expression that evaluates to a sentence, and you can run this text file and give me the result
In every language.
in in the languages that
Support.
work with this. Yeah, yeah. So like basically in every language, if you accommodate for the rules of every language. So for example, I can write my message in a language and say, okay, like this language, because it has three genders, I need three cases for genders, as opposed to a language which has two genders. So in this language I
Yeah, yeah.
structure my sentence differently.
But we have another interesting option, like uh, s- again about button, just
Yeah,
button, text in the button.
yeah,
But you like in when we use English for interfaces, we can break the rules of English. Like don't use articles in your interface. And
mhm.
again, it's because it's not a 100 correct English what
Yeah.
we are using in UI
No, but
interface.
it's up to
Interesting
you.
again.
Like, because you're writing the message, you can choose to write it whichever way you want.
Like it should be used like in interfaces, so there will be rules like okay, just skip article articles.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like the kind of things where they're used, you can probably have to skip articles. For example, you said in a button. But like, yeah, in any of these accented, like high focus elements, you kind of don't want to put articles. You want to make them as short as possible. So yeah, like you can have this ultimately, like it's gonna depend on how you write the message, and like it's only gonna have these basic rules that it's gonna know about the language, and apart from this, like it's all you. But yeah, like obviously this is changing, and this can improve with how we with or like different features over time. For example, like some people can argue that like having a construct for a person, or how to address a name, like a proper name, because this is a pattern that you can see that like, okay, this is going to be repeating in a language. So let's say that in Japanese there's a form of saying, okay, hello, this person, like your name, basically. They will just do it this way. And so, like again, in Japan, like there's three layers to how you can do this. In
Yeah,
India,
yeah.
there's multiple layers to how you do this. Like respect is also a thing, right? So you have gender, tense, number, how much respect you want to give to this person.
Culture
Like
is a part of
these, yeah,
language.
yeah. So like as long as you can specify all of these, that the engine knows what all of these mean in your language, it's gonna be good. But yes, like for now, the functionality is limited. So what you're gonna get all of these
By
simple,
context, only by
yeah,
context.
yeah, like you're gonna get currencies that are gonna translate, because we got data for most of these. Basically it's that, right? Like it's a question of data. Internationalization in general is always about data. So what we're doing here is like we're giving a tool for developers to use data more.
How to clarify that context?
Yeah, basically. And also just like like how they can use this data to whatever extent they can, because some of it you cannot, like some context, I mean, let's say this way, cannot be clarified, that we do
Yeah.
not have data, we don't know what this means, or some language we don't know what it means. So in these cases you cannot do much. The question is more about, in the cases where it is clear what needs to be done, are you following the rules, or like, do you have to build your own solution, or is the browser gonna be gonna let you do this simply?
Wow. Okay. Maybe it will help robots to enslave us.
Nah, I'm pretty sure that it's more likely that it's gonna help robots show us messages in all of our languages.
I just remember
Yeah.
some issues is like about translation. It's not about interfaces, but about translation of books.
Hmm.
And sometimes languages which don't have genders is hard to translate on language with genders, because
Absolutely.
sometimes it author use that fact that their language don't have languages like to add new hero but don't clarify which gender.
Hmm.
And it's a common problem. Then yeah, on the last page we introduce new person but don't clarify their
Hmm.
gender, and only in new book it will be translated, and there are some issues with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
German is not the one problem.
internalization, globalization, that way it's very
Okay,
complex.
guys, it's 2 hours after we start. Like we had break and we added this time to the amount of time we spent through our audience. But I think that maybe we should break up for the next event.
Maybe there is something what Ujval want to say.
No, I think that was all. I think, well, I mean, there's no shortage of stuff that I would like to say
Okay.
about this stuff, but yeah, we need to end sometime.
Sorry again that I was woken you up.
I-
Thank you for joining us.
Our podcast is called Hard Morning or a Difficult Morning. So thank
It was
you.
nice to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you both
Let's
for
see what we
having
can
me,
do.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for all, and that's all.
Let's stay for a while then.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. We'll see you
Bye.
soon.